All right, so now I'm going to try modeling how you would go about writing your rationale. All right, so what I've done here is I've just opened up a Word document, a Google document, and I've just started, writing out some of the things that I have to do as a reminder. I usually do this when I'm attempting to tackle something. I go and get the criterion and I put it on the page, and then I start working from that. So you may notice on the top right, left-hand corner here, I have some identifying markers. So I'm using my dog's name as he's the one writing this assignment rather than myself, because it would be kind of weird to have Brigitte Lang and Brigitte Lang twice. All right, so Balzac Raymond, he's my Shih Tzu, so he's the one writing this assignment. So you put your name, your full name, your teacher's name, the course code, which in this case is EAE 3US, and then the date as to which you're handing in the assignment. All right, so that should be found on the left-hand side of any assignment that you're providing to your teacher, even if it is virtually, especially for the IB students. And I'll be explaining once we have our candidate numbers next year, because you can't use your name on your documents. You'll have to use your number, but for the time being, we'll just put your names down, but that will be a requirement. So just remember to do that for all your assignments. And then a heading, writing task number 1, rationale. And then I listed here the criterion. So it's essential that you include a rationale. So you have to do this, otherwise you'll lose marks if you don't. So although it's not remarkable, it's still, better to do it. It's something easy to do. The rationale has to be between 200 words and no longer than 300 words. So you have a word limit, which is good. The rationale should shed light on the thought process behind the task. So that is the focus here, to show me your process, your thoughts and ideas, and how you came to the topic at hand. Furthermore, it should explain how the task aims to meet one or more of the outcomes of the syllabus. And so we talked about that the other day, but I'll refresh your memory. So the first thing when I look at this, I'm like, scratching my head. What text type do I want to do? Okay, that would be one way of going about it. Or which topic do I want to do? And then from there, you can bounce back to choosing your text type. So I already have a topic in mind for mine. So the evolution of the term retarded, right? And how it's no longer politically correct to use that term. And so that's what I want to discuss, because it's something that I grew up hearing a lot. I have a cousin who suffers from cerebral palsy, and she was called that growing up, and I got really, really offended for her, and I used to defend her and beat up the bullies. Yeah, I was one of those. I was like Scout. And so I got really, really offended by the word, and I'm glad that it's no longer in use, because there are strong negative connotations to this word. So that's why I'm choosing. So see, this is actually part of my rationale. I can talk about my cousin Susie and growing up with her and hearing that word used as a derogatory term towards her, her status, and that could be part of my rationale. That's the impetus for the assignment. That's what inspired me to take up this cause, all right? So, okay, so I've identified my topic. Now, I could go and look at the text type. I'm not quite sure yet. So let's look at outcomes, because some of these things are easier to do than others, all right? So evolution of terms, so that has to do with taboo language, because it's no longer acceptable, so it's considered a non-PC. So it comes from part 1. So here I've listed the 3 outcomes from part 1. So I have to determine which of these I want to do and deal with. So analyze how audience and purpose affect the structure and content, analyze the impact of language changes, demonstrate an awareness of how language and meaning are shaped by culture and context. So when I'm going to be talking about this term and the evolution of the term, I'm more than likely going to be addressing the second one. Analyze the impact of language changes, and so the impact on society, and what impacted the language to change. So I can look at it from 2 perspectives, right? So I'm surely going to be doing that. Analyze how audience and purpose affect the structure and content of texts. I'm not sure if I'm going to be tackling that. It's probably not related to my topic, but I know I'm not, I'm not going to leave it out. Maybe, I don't know. I'll just leave it for now. Demonstrate an awareness of how language and meaning are shaped by culture and context. I'm probably going to have to address this because by culture and context, so the time in which people grow up and the conditions and people's reactions to certain labels. So in my case, it's the term retarded. What is it about the culture of the time or the social context that made that word acceptable in another context and it's no longer acceptable today? All right. So I'm definitely going to be addressing this last one. I don't know to what degree, but I know that I'll be probably mentioning it. So those are the two outcomes that are going to become part of C. So I'm going to jot those down right there. Oops, what happened there? I don't know. All right. I'm messing up my notes. All right. So I can erase this. I'll remove it so as not to confuse myself. All right. Then D, what sources will I be using? Well, I'm going to tell you, so other than my cousin Susie, who inspired me to choose this, and my personal experience with the use of the word, there are two videos that I came across, which kind of indicate the difference. All right, so I'll show you what my prompts are. So here is, it's a video. It's actually an advertising campaign for the Retarded Children's Association. Now this is an ad from, I believe it's the 1970s. It doesn't say here, but I looked it up, and it was from the 1970s, so I grew up during the 1970s. I don't remember seeing this particular advertisement, but I'll just have you have a quick look at what it says.
People who need people. Oh, the luckiest people in the world. That was a lucky song for me. But it made me think, what about people who aren't so lucky? Like the thousands and thousands of children who are born each year mentally retarded. They're often quite helpless. But with help, wonderful things can happen. Like a little retarded boy putting on his own hat and coat for the first time, all by himself. Or maybe a teenager will learn how to work at a job and feel useful, needed, self-supporting. The retarded are people who need people. They can be helped. Won't you support the work of your local unit of the National Association for Retarded Children? Thank you.
All right, so that's the first prompt. Now, you probably have some strong reactions to it. I know that when I first came across it, I was like, oh my God. That was OMG, as you would say. I was really, really baffled at the fact that that video actually was, still existed. And that Barbara Streisand, would be as supportive of the cause. And then I came across this other video that's just come out recently. It's from 2 weeks ago. And I'll let it speak for itself. It's rather short, so we can watch it. So that's the video that I watched and I went, oh my gosh, now that is such an improvement on the other video. And so there's a huge difference between the two. And so that's kind of my springboard. So these are the two prompts that I'm using to discuss my issue, and I'll be referring to them in my writing task, more than likely. All right, whoops, where am I? Okay, modeling. So I have 2 videos, Barbara Streisand, and Madeline Stewart, top model. And obviously, I noticed straight away in the ad itself, the way they speak about, like Barbara Streisand is talking about the retarded children. She uses words like helpless, and they can better themselves, etc. And they're made to look so pitiful in the ad. Whereas in a newer video, it's a very empowered, positive spin on Madeline, and obviously. She represents diversity. You never see the term retarded used in the ad at all. So I thought that was rather interesting. So I'm going to use those as my sources. So now what I would do from these ideas. Notice I still haven't picked my text type. So I think I'm leaning towards doing something very opinionated, more than likely, and that's kind of like who I am. So I'm probably going to choose a blog. I love blogging. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so the text type that I've chosen to do is blog. So see how I've come to these decisions, and it hasn't taken me a long time. So now what I would do is I would give a context. So the first thing you do is in English class, we've been discussing many aspects of language changes over generations. Today's language I don't know what I want to say there. Okay, so we've been discussing many aspects of language changes over. I will focus, and you can use I because this is your rationale. This is you talking to your teacher directly. I will be exploring the evolution of the term retarded and look at the transformation of the word and its connotations. All right, and I'll explain what connotations are in class tomorrow or today. The word and its negative and I could say negative connotations here, but I'll leave connotations because I'm not just going to be talking about the negative connotations. I'm going to be talking about positive ones with the new words. All right. What prompted me to select this topic is very personal to me. Growing up, the word retarded was often used to belittle and badger my cousin Susie, who was afflicted with cerebral palsy and who had profound learning and social limitations. She was not a verbal at all, and so I guess people couldn't communicate with her, and she couldn't communicate back, and so they determined that she was useless. And I remember lots of comments being made about my cousin, and I was hurt by them, and I don't think that she had an understanding of what they meant, but it was hurtful to her father especially, and my uncle had a hard time with that because he loved Susie so much, and so she's a member of our family, and so that's what prompted me to choose this as my topic. I came across 2 videos during my research, because I was doing research for this topic for class, which prompted a strong reaction from me. And I will be using those videos from 1970 and 2017 to demonstrate the differences in labeling and depicting persons with and learning disabilities or genetic genetic, how can I say this? See, this is the part I struggle with. Our genetic, I'll just leave learning disabilities for now. I don't want to get too much into the topic. All right, I don't know how many words I have. So here's how you check. I want to check. It's in tools, word count. So I'm already at 113 words, and I'm not that far in. So what I could add here is, oh yes, I have to add my outcomes. So I will analyze the impact of, of these language changes on society's perception of this minority group. All right. So that's obviously my main purpose, is to get people to think before they use this word, right? And to look at these individuals in another light, just like that last video I showed you with Madeline. And it's amazing to me to see that, because it's a totally different perception from one that I saw growing up from, from my life experience with my cousin Susie. So I'm going to do that. And I will also attempt to demonstrate. So I'm just using awareness of how language and meaning are shaped by social context. So social context I'm talking about, the 70s and up to now. So social context, it could be educational reform, it could be educational reform, etc. So I would just finish this off and I would get to my 300 words. I'm almost there already. This is how I would write my rationale. Obviously, I would go back over this, and as I'm gathering other evidence, maybe I want to clarify. I may want to put the titles of the two videos, and that's obviously going to add to the word count. So, I mean, you're not limited to 200. You can go up to 300. And so it's not that hard to do. All right, so just start like I did, and you should have no problem getting to what you need to have. So I now delete all my extra stuff, and there's my rationale at the beginning of my writing task, and then I would just continue my writing task after that once I've finished my rationale. All right, so that's that. Sorry if I was a little bit blah, 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 but I'm just trying to help you.